Some heartbreaking news this morning. It has happened again. Another young life taken as a result of gunfire in our city. This time, an 8-year-old girl was shot and killed near Solden High School, just spending time with her family. It happened after a football jamboree, and Brandon Morano joins us live this morning. You have more details, and the story is it's one of those stories that's just so sad to report.
Kelly, it really is, and it's not the first or second time that a young child has been shot and killed in recent weeks here in St. Louis. Now, it happened at Solden High School in North City, and an 8-year-old girl was shot and killed. I want to show you some video from the scene last night, just shortly after that football jamboree. The 8-year-old girl was killed, and 3 other people were shot and taken to the hospital. 2 of them were 16-year-old boys. 1 was shot in the arm, and another was shot multiple times. Both are in stable condition at local hospitals at last check. And a 40-year-old woman was also shot in the leg, and at last check, she's in critical but stable condition. And it happened at a football jamboree at Solden High School in North City. Police initially were called to a brawl involving about 100 students a little after 7 o'clock last night. An hour later, officers were called back to the same area with a report of shots fired. That's when they realized 4 people had been shot, including that 8-year-old little girl who was killed in the crossfire. Chief Hayden had this to say about the shooting.
It was like a very tragic incident. Of course, the little girl wasn't doing anything wrong. She was with family when this occurred. A family event like this, and it's just like I said, families involved, and it's just unfortunate that people aren't being respectful of others. It's just hard to deal with. Like I said, we were up there. I spoke to her father, and so he's very distraught about all of this. But I'm just hoping that we'll be able to come to a successful resolution by people sharing information with the police.
Now, St. Louis police are still investigating this. If you have any information, contact the St. Louis Police Department. But a sad situation overnight here in North City. Kelly?
There have been 14 children or teens killed by gun violence just this summer in the St. Louis area. Their ages are between 3 and 17. Most of their deaths still are unsolved. And there will be a funeral today for one of those children, Xavier Usanga. The 7-year-old was killed earlier this month while playing outside. A man named Malik Ross admitted to firing the shot that killed him and is behind bars for allegedly robbing an armored truck. Xavier's funeral is at 11 at Most Holy Trinity Catholic Church. And this was the scene at a football jamboree at Parkway North High School last night. Police say they believe a shot was fired, and there were also several fights that broke out. This led to this. People started running and trying to get away. We spoke with a few students who were there when it was all happening.
We were getting in the car, and then we just saw a bunch of, it was a big crowd of people. They kept running in and running out of the stadium and yelling and screaming.
And people were just running everywhere. People were just going insane. And we finally asked someone, and they were like, "Oh, shots were fired. He has a gun." And so we were just trying to contact everyone, making sure that they were okay. We got stuck there for a really long time, trying to figure out if my friends were okay.
Luckily, luckily, no one was hurt. Another big story we're following this morning: an Illinois State Trooper has died in the line of duty. Trooper Nicholas Hopkins was serving a warrant yesterday in East St. Louis when he was killed. Chris Davis is live this morning at Illinois State Police headquarters, and you have some details about the trooper's death. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Kelly. Justice will be done. That's the word from prosecutors yesterday when they learned that Trooper Nicholas Hopkins died from his wounds after trying to serve a warrant in East St. Louis. Now, at this point, we know that 3 people are in custody after the shooting, but we don't have any word yet whether any charges have been filed just yet. Trooper Nicholas Hopkins was just 33 years old. He had been serving on ISP's SWAT team for a number of years, 10 years total with Illinois State Police. Now, we do know that the details are a little bit still unclear this morning, but we know that Trooper Hopkins was serving a warrant in East St. Louis yesterday morning, actually about around this time of day. Troopers and those inside the house exchanged gunfire, and he was struck. His fellow troopers performed CPR until paramedics arrived and took him to SLU Hospital. Doctors fought throughout the day to keep him alive until he was pronounced dead last night around 6 o'clock. Now, we spoke to ISP's director, Brendan Kelly, last night, shortly after the officer died. As you can imagine, he got emotional telling us about Trooper Hopkins.
He is another great hero of Illinois that has paid the ultimate price while protecting and serving the citizens of this state. This is a particularly bitter moment for me because it has occurred in the home part of my state. It is hard, especially hard, for the entire Illinois State Police family.
Trooper Hopkins leaves behind 3 young children, but he will continue to save lives here in Illinois and Missouri. He elected to be an organ donor, and Brendan Kelly tells us he could save up to 40 lives through that generous donation. But of course, we don't want it to be like something like this, Kelly.
Absolutely not. Well, Backstoppers is helping out the family of Officer Hopkins. They plan to meet with the officer's wife to find out how they can help with the family with whatever kind of assistance they may need. It has already been a tough year in Illinois with 5 law enforcement officer deaths. Trooper Hopkins makes 6. Illinois State Police already lost 3 troopers in 2019. Christopher Lambert and Brooke Jones Story each died while working on the side of highways hit by cars. Gerald Wayne Ellis died in a crash with a wrong-way driver. There's going to be a memorial put up today to honor a deputy who died in the line of duty. Sergeant Peggy Vasallo died in 2015 while helping the victim of an accident. A car hit and killed her when she was helping another driver near the Jamestown Mall in Florissant. A memorial bench will go up at City Hall in Bellefontaine in her honor. Something to be mindful of if you'll be out on the roads this weekend. Today is Saturation Saturday. That is where police officers flood the streets, cracking down on impaired drivers. Ryan Henson has the details behind the push to keep us all safe.
Police are always looking to keep the streets safe. And for the 3rd year in a row, they're teaming up with Mothers Against Drunk Driving to reinforce one goal.
We want people just to get home safely.
So before you pick up the keys and head out the door, make sure you have a safe ride home, or else you'll be taking a ride with those guys. 24 different departments, 100 badges from both sides of the river will be in the streets cracking down on impaired drivers. To police, it's not about racking up arrests.
If we got 0, that means our message got out. People made the right decision.
But if the only ride you catch is in the back of a squad car, so be it.
If we were able to make some arrests, well, then we sent a message, and hopefully they're never going to do it again, and they're going to share that experience with their friends.
Drunk drivers take 11,000 lives every year. St. Louis, let's come together and make sure we have 0 this weekend. Ryan Henson, 5 on your side.
How do departments afford to have these officers on like this? Well, there are several grants that agencies can apply for to help pay for overtime. Breaking news from overnight, a woman was killed in a hit and run. It happened on South Broadway around 1 this morning. Police say she was crossing the street when a car hit her, then took off. She died at a hospital. Police have not released any more information. St. Louis County Police, they need your help finding this man with several health issues. His name is Franklin Wynn. He left his home Wednesday, and his car was found abandoned Tuesday in Jefferson County. He has dementia, a pacemaker, high blood pressure, and he's diabetic. So if you see him, you should call St. Louis County Police. We have a heads up if you're heading to the airport this weekend and plan on taking Metrolink. Because of maintenance, Metrolink will be operating shuttle buses between the North Hanley Metrolink station to and from the airport. You'll have to be dropped off at the Terminal 1 busport, and people who need to go to Terminal 2 have to use the Terminal shuttle. So make sure you just give yourself some extra time. It could cause delays between 15 to 20 minutes. Still ahead on Weekend Tissel, with measles breaks out across the country, health officials are now worried about one happening in a major California city.